We're going to have a fine show with Christine, Zach, and the unveiling of the new tote board. John's back from his vacation, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the man known as the human hairspray, John Berkey.
You're going to have to quit the hair jokes, Mike. We'll be back over for you, Mike, who's guest announcing tonight. Jim, how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good.
The band sounds pretty good. Everybody all excited for tonight's show?
Yeah.
Well, we have a real good show tonight. Now, you got an ongoing thing. This is what, the third, fourth big week? Mm-hmm. That you have this will name that tune, and I know Washington can't wait to find out what the song is, so
we're giving you a bonus note tonight. A bonus.
So you're going to get 2 extra notes?
Yes, we're playing 5 notes tonight.
5?
Well, let's hear it.
Yeah!
Okay.
All right.
That's
I know it.
And it's a popular song.
Popular song.
Now, does anybody got it by this point?
Rocky! What do we have for John?
You be ready tonight. Rock.
Next week will be our.
He just likes to get his voice on the air.
Next
That's all
week
it
will be the
is.
last clue because that will give the song away next week.
Next week's clue will give it away?
Yes, it will.
So the 6th note will be the big note. We don't even get a clue to go with this or anything?
No.
Okay.
No.
Jim, did you get your hair done?
Yes, I did.
It looks nice.
Thank you.
You could have got one like mine, but Okay, I think we've heard enough from the band director for tonight.
I don't think we're going to have the band director anymore, John.
We'll get even, don't worry.
Last time the band will be featured.
So, Mike, how you doing tonight?
Fine.
What's happening? What's happening, Mike?
What hasn't happened at the Hatfield household?
I usually ask the announcer, every week I ask him, what have you been doing in the last week, but I know what you've been doing. How's TV, Mike?
How's TV? TV's doing pretty good.
How's the computer?
Fine. Let's just say I have no social life, John.
Well, when does social life come back into the picture?
Social life comes back in whenever I can bring something back up. A recognizable letter. Okay. It's going to be a great show tonight.
Yeah, I know. Oh, we're off to... No, we have a great show tonight. Christine Zach is our featured guest. She made it. Tonight we've been talking about her for months and months and months. She's finally here. But in a couple weeks, about 4 weeks, we have a real big guest. Judy Kaler is going to be a guest on this show. So we have tonight started the official Judy Kaler Countdown Calendar. And here's our countdown calendar girl. Ladies and gentlemen, only 4 more weeks until Judy Kaler sits in this #1 seat, and that's going to be exciting, isn't it?
It's going to be great.
How's David Letterman coming? We're working on him.
Yeah.
See, if we get a date,
what, 2 days?
if we get a date scheduled with him,
A date.
or we're still trying to work a mutual time when he's not doing shadow puppets or anything, right?
The weather map.
Yeah, we're working. Tell them about that.
Okay. WCHS Today is going to bring a new segment into their vast variety of entertainment. And it's going to be a weather map, a fine weather map. And I will do weather for you each and every week.
You know what we ought to try and do? We got Christine Zach here from Channel 25. We could work on maybe getting in their weather map, too. We could, yeah, we can put 31s over there and 25.
We could...
I do have one question, though, Mike. Where are we going to put their weather? I mean, their weather map's, what, 12 feet high? Where are we going to put it?
I was thinking that...
Have you thought of, are you going to put it in your room or what? No.
We don't need a host for the show. We just need weather.
No, I like Mrs. Druin suggests. What about Mr. Woodward's office?
That's a good idea. Yeah.
He can sit there over morning coffee and juggle around with the weather.
Sounds good to me.
Pretend he's traveling through different states and that kind of thing, huh?
Pretend, huh?
Yeah, we have something brand new. As you saw, there's some a big red sheet of paper, and we have to stand up for this one. We need traveling music for this one. Oh, wait. Right over here, as you can see,
It's red paper.
Red paper. Now, this is the same red paper that was over here for our Christmas show, and we had some left over. And no, that's not the excitement.
Not the sheet.
I know what you're saying. Why are they doing a whole segment on red paper? Under this red paper, though, we have a new segment, and our calendar girl's now going to come back out, I believe. Here's our calendar girl. And she's gonna Now, we have to explain what this is. Now, this obviously says the WCHS Today tote board. And before I go any further, let me tell you, I personally designed this tote board and made it myself. And I was proud of it.
It's amazing what a bag of crayons can do, isn't it,
Yeah. Anyway, a couple weeks ago, someone brought food to our show. And I told this certain person, I said, if you bring us food, we'll mention your name on the air. Well, inadvertently, I think that was the week Mr. Egemeyer was on, and I just, we got, so carried away with all the fun of the show that I forgot to mention her name, and I felt really bad about it. So I told her I'd mention it the next week, and well, this is the next week, but I decided what we would do, just because, all of us, we all like food, don't we? Yeah. We all like food. What we do is just start a tote board, and if you bring us food to the show, or it can be a cash donation too, if that. However, though, we'll have to be at least $5 to make the tote board. None of this dollar stuff. But we will put your name, the date, and the item that you brought, and we'll put it right up on our tote board. And this tote board will go in the WCHS Today's files and stay there for 60 years. So, Mike, you want to hold the microphone? We have to put up. Janet Volt was the person who brought us cookies. What date was that, Janet, when you brought us? And anybody, what?
Last week?
That was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
ago. Today is what? John Fieser looks at his corner here. Oh, Mr. Wilber's checking out the count. We got to get the date right.
John, let's just put a question mark for date.
We'll start with her name. Janet.
It would have been February 13th.
Okay.
Uh-oh, unlucky number. Jenet. Uh-oh. Oh, good job.
Okay.
Item.
What exactly? What kind of cookies were those?
M&M.
Okay, M&M.
Make friends.
Okay.
Good job.
Now we need some damage for that. Now,
So enthused.
did anybody bring us food this week that we didn't hear about? Or cash
Potato
donation?
chips out there.
I don't think so. But now that all of America knows about the tote board, I'm sure we'll be getting more gifts, and you can send them in the mail. That's fine too.
Along with
However, if they are stale, you don't get up on the tote board. We have a viewer mail letter tonight, real quickly. We got this. This is a real letter too. This was not written by our.
Commercially prepared.
No. Anyway, I'm just going to read this. I found it rather amusing. It says, "Dear WCHS Today, I'm writing in accordance to the show when Mike Hatfield was guest host." That was one week ago.
Fine show, ladies and gentlemen.
I am very angry with the immaturity of the audience. They had no class clapping to everything Mike said. The other thing is the thing I'm upset about is with John Berkey taking a vacation. Why, may I ask, would John give up his spot on the best TV show on Thursday nights?
Yeah.
And why does he think he needed a vacation? Does he really work that hard? Did he have more fun there than he would have had doing the show? What is in the Virgin Islands that is so interesting anyway? Why was Mike Hatfield... That's what the letter says.
Oh, gee.
Why was Mike Hatfield put in John's place?
Look at you flashing.
What? Why, we have another immature group tonight. There's no... Gosh. We're going to have to start screening our guests before they get in here. Why was Mike Hatfield put in John's place, and why wasn't the improvocable John Fieser put in? I would appreciate some answers, a concerned WCHS Today fan. Mike, can you offer them any answers?
Well, I can offer very few of the answers. I'm not an encyclopedia, but I can at least try to answer these questions. What was one of the questions, John?
Well, Mike, we'll be moving on now to our guests. No, as we said, and we've billed her for when was the first time she was scheduled? What, November maybe?
Yeah.
And because of, she was ill, I think, at that time and couldn't make it, and so we've been talking. She's probably the most popular person that's never been on the show. We've been talking and talking about her, but she's right back there, so I'm assured she's coming. Ladies and gentlemen, she's the co-anchor on Channel 25 News. Would you please welcome Christine Zach?
Am I supposed to give kisses? Or
Welcome to
something?
the show. Well, I don't know. I think that makes me blush too. I don't know.
Before we go any further, I need your address so I can send some money and/or food.
You need my address.
What is it, please?
Studio One,
Okay, Studio One.
Yeah.
Is this Rockefeller Center? Or
Washington Community High School.
WCHS?
place to be.
Yes.
Washington, Illinois, 61571.
61571. Okay. Cookies or money will be forthcoming.
Oh, we really appreciate that. And your name will go right up on our tote board.
At the bottom, I'm used to being at the bottom, Zach,
Yeah. When you've got a
Then you
name
can
like
fill
that,
in
you
the
were always, the last in classes
Just
and that kind of
about.
stuff?
I had somebody, I graduated from high school, in my class, 925 people.
Were you last?
I was 921.
So you were close to
An
last.
alarm clock to our graduation so that we wouldn't sleep through. When the big day came, the big moment came. And it was perfect because just as I went up to get my diploma, I got my diploma, and just as I entered the center of the stage, the applause started because the last person got their diploma. I knew it was really for me, but...
Yeah, well, of course it was. Hey, why don't you tell us how are things over at Channel 25?
They're pretty good. Ratings ended today.
Oh, yeah, you just got done with the ratings
In
period,
one
right?
week, and then ratings end. Well, this is really supposed to be Thursday, right?
Right.
Ratings ended today then,
Okay.
and yesterday.
Uh-huh.
I have to get my days straight here.
Yeah.
And
It's always fun taping a day early.
yeah, it really is. But ratings is a difficult time for us because we have many people scattered many different places trying to cover everything. We have series of reports, special series starting and running. The first one was on the yuppies, and the second one was the Love That Lotto. We had some
Love That Lotto.
Not really probing series,
Yeah.
but they're
No, I
fun
know.
kind of things. And
Just things to
every
get
once in a while we
viewers, that
can-
kind.
Right, and then recently we had the Rust Belt War: Why Indiana is Better Than Illinois, which was a very good series. And so we keep busy during that time of year.
Would you find, though, that you really do put more interesting stories and that kind of thing on during the ratings periods?
Well, it's called hyperbole at that particular time. In February, May, and November every year we're in ratings. And we try to hype our shows a little bit so that we can get more viewers. It's a big battle between us and them. And so we try to come up with topics that will grab the audience and get them to watch us. And then we have our clever promotional things. And, speaking of promotional things, we're going to go to New York in a couple weeks. McIntyre, John Wingate, and myself. We're going to do some promos there. So if I see
really?
David, I'll put in
If
a
you
clip
see
so that
Dave,
he
just
can stop by and bring cookies.
tell him John sent you, and
I'm sure you might even get a response for our viewer mail night.
Viewer
is that a
mail.
regular thing, or did that just happen?
Yeah, we
This is the first
no,
one?
well, no,
That's
well,
usually the only letter we get.
okay. To be honest with you, Christine, it's not like we have a big mailbag every week, but when
Okay.
letters come in, we try and accommodate them.
Get
And
them on
that.
the air, okay.
Why are you going to New York? You're just going to shoot promos like with.
With Tom Brokaw.
So you'll be able to meet him and actually do a promo with him.
What they do, I've never done these kind of promo things before. I've done them with some of the movie stars, and those are pretty bizarre because as soon as the camera's on, they turn on, and as soon as the camera turns
They
off,
turn on, yeah.
they turn off. They get up and leave. Well, it was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
But we'll go into the to the studio where the NBC Nightly News set is, and we'll be with him. I
So
don't
you'll
know
be right.
exactly-
You'll be right by Dave, right? Right at
not
the.
Dave, not Dave, Tom.
Well, but you'll be in the
See?
same building, right?
Right.
30 Rockefeller Plaza.
That's right.
It's too bad you couldn't go on Shadow Puppet
I
night.
know. I'm pretty good at those too. I can do a couple of these.
We're going to do that some night on the high school.
Oh, that would be nice. I don't know exactly if John Wingate will be doing one on his own, and then if McIntyre and I will probably be doing one with him together. But it'll be kind of
When are you
exciting.
doing that?
March 9th and 10th. We
So-
go out on the 9th.
So
and
the
then-
station pays for you to
Well,
go out there? Or?
it's kind of a combination, I think, of the station and NBC itself because it's a big promotional thing. And our station, for many years, has been the #1 NBC affiliate in the country. So we
You mean
get in on
as
a
far
lot
as
of
as
these
far
things.
as the local news goes? Or?
As far as local news, as far as the number of people per capita that watch an NBC station. I mean, usually NBC didn't
So you
have
mean in
that
this area, the NBC station has much higher ratings than they do in
compared to
other?
anywhere in the country. And we've been in the top 6 for many years. We've been #1. We've been in the top 6 top 10
Sure.
for several years. And I don't know what the draw is exactly. We'd like to think it's News 25, but that's why we always get in with some of the big guys. When they only have the top 50 markets through the country, they include Peoria as well because we have the ratings, we have the viewers, and that's a real nice compliment. We'd like to thank you all.
Now, you mentioned you've done promos with celebrities. Is there anybody really notable?
Well, let me think back over the years. I interviewed Ted Danson and Shelley Long from Cheers right before that all first started. I've done a lot of people. Gosh, but it's just too much to remember. Name some NBC programs, and I'll give you some names. Well, Jessica Savage, who was my idol, who is now dead, I interviewed her several years ago, and I was just really excited about that. I told her I wanted to be just like her when I grew up. But I hope I don't like water or anything.
No.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, that was terrible. But it is interesting that two of the famous people that I did interview are now dead. John Eric Hexum is another one.
So you interviewed him, too?
When he had a show on NBC, I think it was called The Voyagers. Let's see, what else? Some of the stars from, what is the name of that show? St. Elsewhere. Cynthia Sykes, I believe, is one of them.
Now, did you interview these people here in Peoria?
No, I went to New York one year and it's all day long. You go in early in the morning.
And you just do one person after another?
Yeah,
or you do a whole bunch at a time?
and there are 3 people in your room. From Peoria, one was from Georgia, and one was from Tampa, Florida, or something. And then we go in and we have 15 minutes or so, and each one of us has approximately 5 minutes to do our interview. So the first one sits down, asks the question, the poor star has to sit there.
Yeah.
And then after they're done, then the second person moves in, asks the questions, which are much the same as the first person's questions, and then the third person moves in and does the same thing. Well, these poor stars have to go through 7 different rooms, which means 21 interviews in a matter of a few hours. And so it would be, I really
So you can
couldn't blame
understand
them
why they
getting
get a
up and
little...
walking away.
yeah, why
Right.
they...
Who was the one on Little House on the Prairie? Melissa Gilbert. She was, of really of all of them, she was the one I liked the least of all of the people that I've ever interviewed because she, I couldn't even see the guy who played her husband on Little House because she sat forward and she had her hair all puffed out. And I kept leaning on the side of my chair to try to get a question to him. And the more I would lean, the further she would lean forward too. And she just kept going like this, and she just couldn't be bothered with really what we had to say. It was the last interview of the morning, I think. So,
So you can kind of understand, though, why
I do
that
understand
happens.
it, but I was a little bit angry because I thought, well, she's probably being paid dearly to do this, and the least she could do is put on a show just for the moment.
Sure. How long have you been in broadcasting?
Professionally, I've been making a living at it almost 11 years.
Okay.
When I was in college, I worked for about 2.5, 3 years.
Was that professionally or just at...
Well, it was on a cable network station, a cable station.
So you started on cable, too? Okay.
Yeah, see? There's hope. At Cable Channel 2. There we go.
Another Eggmeyer.
And then as soon as I graduated, I got my first job in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And that was pretty many years ago. I know I don't look that old. I don't act that old either.
How long have you been in Peoria?
This time, 6 years. I was in Peoria once before. Did anybody
Oh,
know
were you?
that? See?
Obviously not.
I snuck in and out of town in 7 months. I came here after Fort Wayne, Indiana. I was here for 7 months. I anchored the 10 o'clock news with the late Tom Connor.
425?
For Channel 25. Left to go to Salt Lake City because they offered me money and a car and mountains and skiing and wonderfulness, and that fell to pieces. So I came back on my way through to go move home with Mom, and they offered me my old job back. 2 women had replaced me, and they went on to different things, and I came back to replace myself.
So now you've been there for 6 years. Now, do you think you're going to stay there, or would you like to move on?
I would like to move on, yes, but I'm married now, and my husband.
You just got
has his
married
own-
recently, right?
Almost 2 years ago. It's the longest I've ever been married. We've got to top his past record, but we won't talk about that. Second's better than none. No, he has his own law practice in Chillicothe, so he's pretty well set in this area, and I think that it's...
So it'd be difficult for you to just, it's not a decision just you can make, just to leave.
It would
So
be
it's
hard
different
for
when
him
you're married.
if I would go to a job that would be wonderful and pay a lot of money or something. You would have to pay me to support him for quite some time. He'd have to go back to law school and take another test and then establish
You have to
a
get
practice.
established in another state.
And it doesn't, it doesn't come easily. You know, he's been here for 6 or 7 years, and he's been building his practice too. And it takes a lot of work to get a clientele when you're an attorney, when you're a doctor, when you're anything.
Sure.
You know, it took me a long time to establish any kind of credibility in this market, to get people to trust that what I was saying was accurate or right, or just trust me, period.
Why do you think Channel 25 has the #1 news? I mean, you know, I know you think it's good, but are there any specifics you can offer over the other newscasts that you think it's reason it's better?
Well,
Besides yourself, you know, I'm sure that's...
thank you. 2 dozen cookies.
Two, all right. I'm gonna try and get 3 before this interview's over.
You haven't tasted my cookies.
Now we know she's giving us 3 dozen.
That's right. They're vegetarian cookies. I just want you.
You ever heard of Betty Crocker?
Yeah, I've heard of her. I met her once. She knocked me over the head with a wooden spoon. Anyway, why is Channel 25 News the best? It's because it goes back to, we were the first station on the air.
How many years old has it been on the air now?
1951, February 1st, 1951, we went on the
That's
air.
33 years.
Well, 32, I guess.
John?
No, maybe it was 53. I guess it was 53.
Okay,
That's right, because it's 31 or 32 years old. Anyway, I know it was February 1st. I wasn't too far off, and it was in the 50s. But Tom Connor, who
You mentioned
passed
him
away,
earlier.
right? He was really the dean of broadcast journalism in Peoria, Illinois. A lot of people knew him and respected him. And when we worked with him, he was a real stickler about detail. When we would write a story, he would say, "How do you know that? Did they in fact tell you that? Check that out. Did you call here, 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 and here?" So it was his whole, his legacy that helped spur us on. And many of the people that worked for him and with him are still there.
So you think his effect still lives on a lot of the stuff that he taught people?
And plus we have a lot of consistency on the air. As far as weekdays go, McIntyre and I have been a team for 6 years. John Wingate has been at the station for 6 years. He has a good audience, a strong audience in Live at 5. And so it's just... You know, it's kind of the whole legacy, why people get up and turn over to us. The ratings show that. They'll be watching an ABC show or a CBS show or something, and
Because
they'll
certainly
get up at 10 o'clock and turn over to
certainly as
us.
far as nationally, NBC isn't the #1 network, so that means they must be, turning over.
But in Peoria, NBC News gets better ratings than Channel 19's local news. And that's very rare to have a network news
to have a
program
network be stronger
top
in
a
the
local
evening and then...
program. Right.
Yeah, so you must feel pretty good about that,
Yeah,
that the
we feel
news is
real
doing
good.
something right.
And we have a lot of
think-
good direction and leadership at our station, too. A lot of people with foresight. And that doesn't happen. Most people just kind of shoot from the hip a lot of times when they're in management positions. And
I mean, just go
that's
with
their
whims,
style.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and then they go out and they get consultants. Get a consultant from New York or San Francisco or something who says, well, this is what you need to make it work. Well, who says that
Yeah.
it's going to work? Maybe it works in San Francisco or New York, but who says that it's going to work in Peoria?
So you think it more takes local people that understand the community and that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Do you
And we
think
have a lot of homegrowns at our station.
So you mean that have lived here
Homegrown
all their...
management type people, yeah. Like our program director is from Galesburg originally. Our general manager, Frank Bissoni, is from the Metamora, Roanoke area. So, they are familiar with central Illinois and what it needs and what it will accept and things like that.
You think maybe some of the other stations don't have that as much? Maybe that's part of the reason for
Peoria is a very good market to move on from. It's a good training ground, and they start here, get a lot of training, and then they move on after several months. I did it the first time, and it's one of those things. I just don't know that they have the foresight or the experience sometimes that we do have. We make sure that we check out our people and they have their educations and things like that, and that particularly they're not learning the ropes on the air all the time. They've had a little bit of experience somewhere along the line in order to get started here.
Well, now one thing I guess, of course,
Just
is
jump in
that he's just sitting there like a little excited child.
I got a question.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Isn't it a good question, too? It's
Are we going to get a complaint
See,
about this?
we're breaking him
You're
in
asking
for
a
next year.
question? Okay.
Here we go now. Isn't it true that you interviewed a very high official and a mishap took place? Meaning,
But can I say those words?
yeah.
I don't think
Go
I
ahead,
can
we'll
exactly say
bleep.
those words.
No, are you
Oh,
referring to the Ronald Reagan thing? Yeah, why don't you tell us about that? You told us that story. Can you
Okay.
just bleep out
Well,
the
I
two
will.
words that
Right,
Mr.
okay.
Bush said? But tell us the story about how when he came to
Well,
25.
we have a problem in our studio at times. It's a very old studio. What did we figure? It was 32 years
Yeah,
old or something.
okay.
Okay.
Computations come in handy.
That's right. I got my notebook
You
here.
know,
to
stats
figure that
crew
out.
over there.
Oh, it was the night before the 1980 election, and Ronald Reagan's last laugh Okay, I just saw the sign. Never mind. I just wanted to throw that in. You can laugh in a minute.
We're holding
he'll hold
that.
that up. Well, Ronald Reagan and George Bush were in town, and it was the big push right before the election. He wanted to come back to Eureka in Central Illinois and the whole,
Sure.
small town America, will it play in Peoria thing, and he was tape recording a half-hour special that he was going to pay for, or he had
Right.
already paid
Yeah,
for.
that was what,
on
like
all
a
of the
half-hour
networks.
spot for
Right before the 10
across the
o'clock or 11
nation, so this
o'clock
was
news.
national.
Right. So it was like 9:30 to 10 o'clock our time, prior to the big newscast in the evening. And they came into the studio, and our studio has a ceiling that's probably 3 times the height of this or something. And it's
Low.
yeah, but and it
We have
has
grid work.
this old garbage kind of
Yeah,
It's
I
just so
remember
old.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
some
it's
kind of,
30 years old, you know.
yeah, insulation or
Sure.
something. And during the year, during the summertime especially, and in the fall, we open up this big garage door in the back to do commercial production. Well, bugs don't know not to stay outside. They get inside anytime they can, so we have a problem with wasps. And while we have been on the news before when wasps have landed on us or around us or are buzzing past us, and your first reaction is to scream and yelp and get the thing off of you or away from you.
If you're on the air, you don't
Yeah,
wanna-
you just can't really do that. You have to kind of compose yourself. So, 2 weeks prior to Mr. Reagan's coming to town, they started bombing the studio with bug bombs. So every day we would walk in, and there'd be several hundred dead wasps.
We smell that in the hall some days.
Is that
I
right?
don't think they're bug bombs, though.
And so they'd sweep those all up, and then when it came for him to tape this half-hour show, and it was a one-take deal, and he is magnificent with a teleprompter. He's just really smooth. And I was wondering what was going to happen if there would be another wasp. I mean, the man is fairly old, and what would be his reaction or something. And I don't think that anybody would tell him about it. And of all of the press, local and national press, I was the only reporter allowed in the studio at the time. There were about 15 people
You
in the
mentioned
studio.
the security,
Right.
about what they had
sent
everybody.
the dogs through, and they
Yeah.
went through, everything. We were all checked out when we first got there, just to make sure that we weren't going to pull anything fast. And there were maybe 15 people altogether in the studio. Well, after they were done, they had one false start because Mr. Reagan messed up the prompter, reading the prompter. The second problem was that one of the cameras died while he was recording, so we had
It
to
happens to you guys, too.
yeah,
We've only got one camera, though.
yeah. You're in big trouble then, right? Run a film or Hogan's Heroes or something.
We have to run in a Polaroid.
And so then the third time he made it through. Third time was a charm. And after he was all done, we all got to run up and talk to him. And there were several, maybe only 6 or 7 people from the station. The rest were Secret
National-
Service
no,
agents.
see.
Yeah, and they had their little lapel pins and their
And the
little
dark
things in their
sunglasses,
ears.
even
Yeah.
inside.
They didn't have their sunglasses. It's pretty dark in the studio. And we're talking, and people are getting autographs and shaking hands, and Mr. Reagan was to my left and Mr. Bush to the right. And I was kind of standing about right in between them. They were on a platform about 6 inches high or something. And sure shooting, right between them comes a wasp. Well, my first reaction is to duck. So I kind of moved away, and a Secret Service agent grabbed me by the back and said,
Yeah, you
"What's
don't make
wrong?"
quick moves in
That's
front of
you
them,
never
yeah.
make quick moves in front of them. "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, there's a wasp." And George Bush said, blankety blank, "I'm allergic to those things." And boom, they whipped him out of the studio. They whipped Ronald Reagan out of the studio. The next thing I really wanted to wait for, and I've told the story many times, I wanted him to get the wasp with little wing cuffs, wrestle him to the ground, hold him down,
Yeah.
take him all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, he'd probably plead insanity, though. Probably was
No
probably
doubt.
what-
I just got carried away. I don't know what it was. Wanted to meet the man and just couldn't
Sure,
get in there.
yeah.
So that's a pretty amazing
So that sounded
story.
exciting. Now, did you get to meet President Reagan? Did you
He
get to-
wasn't quite president yet, but
Well,
yes, I did
he is
talk
now,
to him.
and that's
right,
close
and,
enough.
And my brother-in-law told me that he would have my head if I wouldn't get an autograph, and so there I was getting an autograph from the future president of the United States and the vice
So is
president.
that exciting? I mean, is that...
Yeah, well, it was.
mean, it might-
I
you
was
know.
just so embarrassed. It really is kind of an embarrassing thing to say, "Hi, my brother-in-law
Yeah.
wants your autograph." Ha ha. They-
Back
they
down to
believe
2
me.
dozen.
And my
cookies.
brother-in-law's
And then
name
the
is
piece of the
Christine.
carpet- That's right. And then the carpeting that was on the set, they just kind of left everything. And so my niece had a dollhouse at the time, and so I called up my brother-in-law. They were about ready to throw out the carpeting. Next time I'll know that we better send it here, right? You're going to have 31 minutes. You might as well have our carpeting, right? Okay. But I grabbed a swatch of it for my niece's dollhouse because the
he is,
vice
yeah.
president walked on that red carpet. And they were, very proud of that, and I'm the favorite aunt now. Yeah, I do these little favors.
Now, you got involved in politics a lot. Didn't you go to the inauguration this time?
I was frozen out of most things.
Why does 25 send you to that? I mean, is it really cost efficient for them to do that? Did any
I
of the
don't
other
know
local stations send anyone?
No, they had reporters out there from other stations or from a Washington bureau. We have a Washington bureau out there as well, a service that we subscribe to.
Yeah.
And that's how I came back live on satellite, because I went to that very service and we had editing time and we edited our stories. I don't know if it's cost effective necessarily for them to send us out, but it was leading into ratings too. And it's a pretty important thing. Ronald Reagan is essentially a hometown boy. He holds the Peoria area near and dear to himself,
sure.
right? And it's we have quite a contingent of people going out. Like the Eureka College had 2 busloads going again, second time, and it's exciting for people back home to see what else is going on other than what you can see on the network. Wasn't all that exciting for us because we were very cold and we didn't have much to do. We had great credentials, but we were frozen out of everything.
But they wouldn't let you.
Well, they were all for outdoor activities. Well, when it got too cold for anybody to be outside, we were still outside talking to the people who were also outside about did they feel bad that they were still outside in the cold and freezing. They didn't want us to get frostbite. They didn't want Joe Republican or whoever was there, Joe rah-rah inaugural, to get frostbite. But reporters ended up with frostbite anyway because we were still outside.
Now, you went 4 years ago, and weren't you telling me about a mishap with the camera? 4 years ago?
Like within minutes
talk
after we
about
left.
more budget.
All of these
Tell about this.
I know.
I love these stories because they
Are we
happen to
down
us
to a
all the
dozen
time.
previews now, John?
Yeah,
We're not going down,
after
are we?
this. I might not have a job. Can I come to work here then?
Oh yeah, we'll put you on the payroll. You can share Mrs. Rogers' desk.
I can bake cookies, right? Well, our problem
coffee
last
girl.
time was we were on our way on the bus, 17-hour bus ride one way to Washington, D.C., and as we were leaving Eureka College, the photographer was standing up, got a shot out the window of the bus, and then turned around to get a shot of everybody in the back, and boom, the camera died. Well, the recorder was still working, the big heavy thing that they carry on the side, but we just couldn't get a picture. So we really, I said, well, we can't stop the bus. We're not even out of the parking lot yet, and we'll never be able to go. We've paid our money. We're going to go. I'm excited about this. So I said, well, maybe we can fix it. So he kind of looks at it, and he can't do too much because he's not in the right union to be able to do that. So we figured, well, it's a lost cause, and we just shot our whole first story blind. He would figure out approximately how far we were
So
away
you just
from.
have to guess, yeah.
Yeah, and he tried to focus it, and we rode along the bus, and we did a little story, and we
This
didn't know
guy's
what
name
we
by
had.
any chance wasn't Mr. Eggemeyer, was it?
Was he related?
I don't know. He's from
Was
the
it
area.
Delbert?
They could be cousins. His name is D-Dub. We just call him D-Dub. We know him and love him as that. And so we got to, it was somewhere in Indiana. It was maybe 100, 150 miles from Indianapolis. And we pulled into a rest area, and I thought, well, we haven't gotten the picture back yet, so I better call my boss. He was very happy to hear from me. I said, hi, we're in Indiana now. You
that's
didn't have to
great,
call
yeah.
us to tell us where you were every
That's
stop.
not why we
And I said,
called.
well, actually, we're having a problem with the camera. We're not exactly sure what's wrong with it, but we don't have a picture. We think it's recording. On the deck, it shows that we're getting an audio level, but it doesn't say, we don't know if we're getting a picture or not. So he said, okay, well, how long are you going to be there? I said, about another 10 minutes. So he called me back, and he said, once you get to Indianapolis, that's where we were stopping to eat, he said, get in a cab, go to the airport, and a private plane is coming in from Mount Holly Airport. It'll have another camera for you, and you just trade cameras with them, and then we'll bring this one back. So we got to the restaurant where everyone was eating. We had an hour or something, an hour and a half to eat. We called a taxi cab when we got there. It comes to pick us up. We rush out to the airport. We beat the plane. We waited for about 20 minutes for the plane to land. There was a new camera for us. We traded cameras, and we got this one back, and I was just really praying that this one wouldn't break because it'd be a little more expensive to fly another plane out to Washington. But it seemed to work out pretty well then. There was kind of a happy ending. We ended up holding everybody up because we didn't have a chance to eat our dinner, so we were just scarfing down right before the bus was ready to leave, grabbing rolls and crackers, anything to take on the bus with us. So my trips to Washington have been very memorable.
Do you have any idea how much that cost the station? Did
Just
they
to
give
fly
you
the
a final?
plane?
Well, no, for that
They-
whole trip. I mean, doesn't that get? you know.
Well, for the bus ride, it wasn't very expensive. I mean, and the
just the
food
camera.
was yeah, the camera.
just to fly the
just that cost probably more than our whole trip. Now, this last trip with the renting of the satellite time and things like that, that ran into a little bit more money. But it just shows the state of
Yeah.
our
like you
equipment right
explained
now,
earlier.
and that we do have a satellite and we can go different places, you know, with satellite capabilities. So we're getting a lot better. People just wouldn't even believe, like the election, primary election. We had 2 live shots. One was in Bloomington with our live truck, and then the other was from downtown, and that's because we have a satellite hookup downtown too. So if anybody from out of town were watching, they would find it probably hard to believe that this is Peoria television. That it's close
Because
to
it's more.
100 right now because we have so much here. There are stations
Compared to stations in
there
the
are
same
stations that
size
are
market.
considerably larger than here that don't have the same capabilities that we have, and they also don't pay the same salaries as we get paid. So
Are the salaries, you know, I'm certainly not going to ask you your salary or anything, but
you could, I wouldn't give you the answer.
well, I wouldn't even ask. But how do the salaries run? Can you give us any kind of general idea for, you know, a newscaster, that type of thing?
Well,
You know, I mean, within you know, a margin.
well, it's really hard to say. Every market is different, and it
You know,
just
for
depends
this
on
market
how
here,
much they
yeah.
want, how badly they want you. If they're bringing you in, if an agent were working for me and a market like San Francisco, San Diego, somewhere would want me, then they would negotiate a price, and I might be
Sure.
making $200,000. A guy that I know was making like $150,000 in Salt Lake City and went to Atlanta, is now making, I think, $350,000 to $500,000 over the duration of his contract. That's a pretty
Yeah.
hefty sum. Here we don't make quite that much money. It's just a fraction. But we get paid a talent fee every time we're on the air. I won't
Oh,
charge
really?
you, okay?
That's really, really nice of you.
I know. Thank you. And we get paid a talent
Heard
fee
that
every time
cash
we're on for a
register.
half hour, that's right. And then if we're on for less than 5 minutes, we get a certain amount. And then if we're on for more, like when the president was here a couple years ago for his 50th anniversary of his graduation, we got paid a certain fee. Because we're in a union, we got paid a certain fee for making that appearance.
So you are in a union?
After American Federation of Television and
Do
Radio.
you have to be in
Writers.
this union?
In order to be on the air at Channel 25, yes.
Is it the same way at the other local stations?
No, they are not union at the other stations. And their pay scale as a result is a little less. And, you know, it all sort of comes out in the wash, I think.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people at the other stations who might make more than any of us as well because they were brought in and groomed and things like that. But we've been here long and
Yeah.
steadfast and hardy and probably be here for a lot longer.
Well, we really want to thank you for being here tonight. There's just one thing. Now, we certainly don't.
I don't know if I like this.
No, we don't want. You know,
Do I get a
we think
pie in
it's
my
we
face
think
or
it's good to promote. No, I.
John's already got that.
Oh, okay.
That's in my past. No, we certainly encourage. You know, the competition between the stations here, and David Freeman was on the show.
Yeah, he
A
filled in for
couple-
me the time that I was sick.
exactly. He came back and did a story on us.
Is that right?
Yes, that was on their news.
Well,
now
we'll see what we can
John, she's gonna give us cookies. We'll just take some cookies.
Now we heard the night we were on Channel 31 News, they got the largest ratings ever. So we just thought.
What night was that? No, check.
You'll check,
Just to
right?
make sure for you.
We just thought, you know, you could send your Live at 5 truck out here and we could.
I'll do
no,
anything.
we're just.
This is ratings, isn't it? You're looking for some numbers too right now.
We're looking for somebody.
We're looking for something, yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I really want to thank you for being here. We're glad you finally got to make it, and keep in touch with us if you have any old equipment you want to donate, like a weather map.
And listen, the weather map that Hula uses now, you saw it.
Yeah, it's
The
all
green curtain, it just
yeah,
wouldn't go
green
with
curtain.
what you have in here.
Yeah, all
Alright.
computerized.
Well, you could drop us
You
a
want
couple
the old
satellite
computer,
views.
though?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Anyway.
I don't make any promises, though. Just the cookies.
That we would be greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot again.
Do I
for,
get to leave, or?
No, you
Oh, I
sit
stay
here
here?
as we
Okay.
go out over the
All
ending.
right.
Anyway, I want to thank you for watching again this week. Next week.
we got questions over here.
Next week we have,
We
I
have a
believe,
figure out.
we have 4 people from the spring musical, which is The Wizard of Oz, and we're trying
What
to
is
talk
in
them
that?
into singing something. I don't know how much luck we're going to have. Do you have something to say? Or? Oh, okay. Thanks for watching tonight,
That was
and I want
good
to thank
fairing.
Christine again. Good night, everyone.